Hello, my dear listeners. My name is Kishore Ganesh, and in this episode of the Vocal About Visuals podcast, let's be honest here. A review of the Hindi language monster hit from Bollywood named Jawan, starring Shah Rukh Khan, will be pointless if I were to do it with the point of view that this review will enable people to make a decision to watch this film because people have already watched it or have already made up their mind to watch it. So instead, sure, I'll review this film, which will contain spoilers by the way, but that's not all. I also intend to address some of the common overcorrections and false attributions that are somewhat of a malaise among film Twitter and reviewers in general when they talk about Bollywood in the context of Indian cinema. And I'm also going to touch upon why I think Jawan goes some way in correcting the mistakes, or shall I say, atrocities that were on exhibition in some of Shah Rukh Khan's previous movies, Chennai Express and Ravan. Additionally, I'll touch upon the space afforded to the female characters in a quote unquote mass film and why Atlee, the director, has to a considerable extent perfected his quote unquote kind of film in Jawan after multiple experimentations in Tamil. This is going to be a long one, folks, so strap in. Jawan is also written by Atlee and also stars Nayanthara, Vijay Sethupathi, and Deepika Padukone, among others. Jawan, put simply, is a celebration of a star called Shah Rukh Khan. Bollywood and the general Hindi film watching audience had taken a star of this magnitude for granted. Instead of celebrating him, he was in the last decade getting written off, ignored, and in the most extreme cases, hounded and exiled. People thought quote unquote stars are just a regular occurrence, and if Shah Rukh Khan aka SRK ceased to be one, another would just take that place, fill that vacuum. How wrong were they? Now, I am no great watcher of Bollywood or SRK, but even I could recognize the star aura that the man put out. And what's more, he's also a decent guy in real life. So when you see all the things that were going on with him the last decade as an outside observer, I honestly did feel bad. And then I heard the news that SRK had headhunted Atlee from the Tamil film industry to make a mass movie for him. He literally set up a base for Atlee in Bombay, almost like a wealthy benefactor would do for a doctoral student by giving them a stipend to complete their research and asked Atlee to just do his thing. And if I'm not wrong, Atlee took 3 to 4 years to deliver this film, and looks like SRK's vision paid off. The moolah that Jawan is raking in is breaking new box office records for Bollywood across the globe, proving that a star like SRK is not a flash in the pan. I think SRK has been hurt by his treatment by his home base, and that was evident from his marketing efforts for his past two films. For Jawan, he basically skipped doing widespread marketing in the north of the country, sticking to Twitter, doing an audio launch in Chennai, where the director, a ton of the crew, and his major co stars are from, and then flying off to Dubai to promote his film there. Maybe he realized that his marketing efforts was not influencing the people who would actually go out there and put their money on the ticket counter, rather was just generating income for people for whom SRK was just a resource to be exploited. Of course, these are just my speculations, but I'm quietly confident that if one were to ask SRK these questions, his reasons for his actions would be quite close to what I just said. Now, this quote unquote marketing light approach of SRK has been working big time for him because both Pathan, his previous film, and Jawan are blockbusters, and looks like King Khan, as SRK is known, is back, and all the pretenders have to abdicate their claim to the throne. Coming to the film, Jawan is a typical Atlee film in the Hindi language. For people from the south of India, that would be all the review they need to understand what Jawan is. But for people from across the world, what I mean is that it is a genre mixing mass entertainer. and quote unquote entertainer is the primary genre that supersedes all other genres like action, drama, comedy, and thriller that can be found in this film. Atlee has crafted Jawan as a concoction of a lot of mass films that have come in Tamil, such as even his own films like Bigil and Mersil, and films of other directors like Onion, Indian, Gentleman, etc. I personally felt that the strongest influences on this film were actually from Atlee's own Bigil and Mersil in the way that the father character has been crafted. If Mersil's Vetrimaran and Bigil's Rayappan are the two ends of, say, a spectrum in terms of their relationship with their son/sons, then Jawan's Vikram Rathore is smack bang in the middle of it. And just like Vetrimaran and Rayappan in their respective films, it is Vikram Rathore who gets the most swaggy scenes in Jawan. He's the dude who gets to dress up like Moon Knight and kill a bunch of evil baddies. He's the dude who saves his son, who also is played by SRK, when he, the son, is in mortal danger. He's the dude who is closer in age to the actual SRK, who makes this meta argument against ageism, the argument that in a lot of cases, age is well and truly just a number. The film's core plot is the son avenging his wronged and presumed to be murdered father and actually killed mother with the help of a team of wrongfully convicted female convicts. And as much as the dad SRK takes the prime highlights of the film, Atlee has also ensured that the majority of the characters do get their place in the sun, including the son. The women here are kicking ass, which after Patan has kinda become the norm in SRK films, and I'm here for that. SRK is the only actor I have seen who affords so much space to his female co stars where they are physically getting down and dirty. There is no business or implication that the women are doing something, but then they have to get bailed out by the man. They start and finish their enemy, and the man is a partner who is fighting his own enemy/thug, even if that enemy/thug is the ultimate boss. I will take that progress, thank you very much. To give an example of what I'm going on about, think Anna de Armas's cameo in the James Bond film No Time to Die. Technically, Jawan is an extremely well made film. At least staging is laser focused on making every action shot to be as swag filled as possible. Swag might very well be the driving emotion of the film, as every single character, including the little girl who plays Nayanthara's daughter, gets a slow mo swag shot. And in this endeavor to make a swag dripping movie, Atlee is ably supported by the cinematographer G.K. Vishnu, Ruben, the editor, and most notably by the army of stunt choreographers who are as follows: Spiro Razatos, Yannick Ben, Craig McRae, Kecha Kamfakde, Sunil Rodriguez, and Anil Arasu. The stunt sequences in Jawan are truly fun to watch and are cut expertly by the editor. And if the stunt sequences are the highlights, it is the emotional scenes of Jawan that are a bit too on the nose and taxing. They come across as very in your face, almost challenging you not to feel or cry or emote something. The film's emo scenes seem to be asking me the question, quote, how can you not feel when so much wrongdoing is happening in front of your eyes? End quote. A bit overboard in my opinion. That said, I hope the important message that this film aims to send to the audience, which is to vote responsibly and to question the quote unquote man, doesn't get conflated with the aforementioned emo scenes and gets ignored. That message is vital. And to have such a huge star say that on the national/global stage is a big deal. No question about it. Coming to the performances, this film works for and only because of SRK. Most of the actors do a good job, but SRK, has both the father and son, shows enough difference between the two characters for the audience to register them as exactly that, two distinct characters. The father's character, especially, is a thorough standout, and when Jawan eventually comes on OTT, it will be the reason why this podcaster will watch this film again. Priyamani is the next actor in this film whose performance came across as extremely natural. It is a tiny role, but still, during the brief minutes that she was on screen, her performance had a level of finesse that was superior to everything else around her, with the exception of Shah Rukh Khan, at least in my opinion. From a film point of view, Jawan is a good one time watch that works for the majority of the runtime. I wasn't too much of a fan of the emo scenes, but apart from that, I had a pretty good time. Oh, yes, one more thing, the cameo didn't work for me either. It didn't fit organically with the rest of the film. And now, coming to all the things that I said I'll be talking about at the beginning of the pod, let's start with the overcorrection bit. Now, just like how stock markets tend to go through violent market corrections, whenever a monster hit comes out, reviewers and film Twitter tend to just pile on the superlatives. This time, what particularly rubbed me the wrong way was the claim that quote unquote masala movies, aka the genre benders that I've mentioned, were pioneered by Bollywood in the 70s. This point blank could not be true because, as someone who was exposed to Tamil cinema from the 60s, thanks to my parents and grandparents, I knew that the biggest star of that era, who was so big and popular that he eventually became the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, Mr. MGR, was a Masala movie star. Most of his dramas had a lot of genres mixed in. Mr. MGR's biggest rival and yet another cultural phenomenon called Mr. Shivaji Ganeshan's first film, Parasakti, is still popular to this day for an epic monologue in the climax of that film. And it is also termed as a masala film, and it came out in 1952. So, as much as I appreciate critics celebrating the return of masala films to Bollywood, and more importantly for such a film to be a monster hit, I cannot accept falsification of history. You absolutely cannot pioneer something 20 years after an earlier iteration of the same thing. Source for all of this, Wikipedia. Moving on to the next and final point, which is actually a pet peeve of mine, which is the representation of Tamils in two SRK movies from the past called Chennai Express and Ravan. Now, this topic needs a special pod in and of itself. So, for now, all I'm gonna say is in Jawan, with it being helmed by a Tamil director, the representation of not just Tamils but people of quite a lot of ethnicities who inhabit India are represented sensitively, if not arguably completely accurately, but most importantly, not caricaturishly. Good job, Atlee. Good job. Once again, my name is Kishore Ganesh. This is the Vocal About Visuals podcast, and thank you, my dear listeners, for your time and for listening. Please do give this podcast a follow on your preferred podcast platforms and on YouTube. You can follow me on my socials at Podcast Plural.